450 horsepower, 500 pound-feet of torque, 0 to 60 in 6 seconds flat. In 1970, these numbers weren't just impressive, they were revolutionary. The Chevrolet Chevelle SS 454 LS6 emerged as Detroit's answer to the question nobody dared to ask: how much power is too much power? The answer? There's no such thing. The late 1960s marked the peak of America's horsepower wars. Every manufacturer pushed the limits of what was possible with a V8 engine. But in 1970, Chevrolet threw down the gauntlet. They weren't just building another muscle car, they were creating a legend. The story begins in 1964 when the GTO sparked the muscle car revolution. Ford responded with the Mustang, Dodge with the Charger, and Plymouth with the Roadrunner. Each manufacturer tried to outdo the other with increasingly powerful engines and aggressive styling, but Chevrolet had been quietly watching, learning, and planning. The Chevelle SS 454 LS6 wasn't born in a boardroom. It was conceived on the streets of Detroit, where stoplight battles and quarter-mile runs determined automotive supremacy. The engineers at Chevrolet understood something fundamental about American car culture. It wasn't about refinement or sophistication. It was about raw, unfiltered power. The development of the LS6 program started in late 1969. Chevrolet's performance division faced a significant challenge. The corporate ban on engines larger than 400 cubic inches in intermediate-sized cars had just been lifted. This opened the door for something extraordinary, but it also meant entering uncharted territory. The team started with the proven 454 cubic inch V8 from the Corvette program, but they weren't satisfied with just dropping a big engine into a smaller car. They wanted to create something that would dominate not just the street, but the drag strips and NASCAR circuits as well. The timing was perfect. The Chevelle body style had just been redesigned for 1970, featuring more aggressive styling with a bold front grille, sculpted side panels, and a distinctive rear-end treatment. The new design wasn't just about aesthetics, it was engineered to accommodate the massive power plant that would soon find its home under the hood. The numbers tell the story. A massive 454 cubic inch big block V8, solid lifters, an 800 CFM Holley carburetor, 11.25 to 1 compression ratio. But these specs only scratch the surface of what made the LS6 engine a masterpiece of engineering. Let's break down this power plant piece by piece. The block itself was a marvel of metallurgy. Cast from high-strength iron with 4-bolt main bearing caps, it was designed to handle forces that would tear lesser engines apart. The cylinder walls were thick enough to withstand the massive pressures generated by the high compression ratio. The rotating assembly was equally impressive. Forged steel crankshaft, heavy-duty connecting rods, forged aluminum pistons with full floating wrist pins. Each component was precisely balanced and matched to create an engine that could spin to 6,500 RPM without breaking a sweat. The cylinder heads were where the real magic happened. Large valve heads with 2.19-inch intake and 1.88-inch exhaust valves allowed the engine to breathe freely at high RPM. The combustion chambers were carefully shaped to promote efficient flame propagation, essential for making power with the high compression ratio. The camshaft was a special high-lift, high-duration design that optimized power production above 4,000 RPM. With 0.520 inches of valve lift and 316 degrees of duration, it created the distinctive Lopi idle that became a hallmark of high-performance muscle cars. The induction system was equally impressive. The Holley 800 CFM carburetor sat atop an aluminum intake manifold designed to optimize air-fuel distribution to all 8 cylinders. The air cleaner assembly featured a vacuum-operated flap that opened under heavy throttle, providing additional cold air to the carburetor. Most muscle cars of the era advertised gross horsepower numbers that dropped significantly when measured at the wheels. The LS6, it delivered 450 honest horsepower day in and day out. Dyno tests of original LS6 engines often showed numbers exceeding the factory ratings. This wasn't marketing hype. This was engineering excellence. The exhaust system was designed to minimize back pressure while maintaining some semblance of street civility. Dual exhaust pipes with H-pipe crossover and low-restriction mufflers helped the engine breathe while producing the distinctive rumble that announced the car's presence. While the LS6 engine was the star of the show, the Chevelle SS was far more than just a powerful engine in a car body. The engineering team knew that putting this much power to the ground required a complete package of upgrades. The suspension system was completely redesigned for 1970. The F41 Sport suspension package transformed this muscle car into a capable handler. Up front, heavy-duty springs worked with specially valved shock absorbers to maintain proper geometry under hard acceleration. The front sway bar was enlarged to reduce body roll in corners. At the rear, boxed lower control arms provided additional strength and improved geometry. The rear springs were progressive rate units that helped maintain traction under hard acceleration while still providing a reasonable ride quality. A rear sway bar, unusual for the time, helped reduce understeer and improved overall handling balance. The braking system was upgraded to handle the car's performance potential. Front disc brakes were standard equipment, featuring 11-inch rotors with dual-piston calipers. The rear drums were enlarged to 11 inches and featured finned aluminum drums for improved cooling. The drivetrain was equally robust. The standard transmission was a Muncie M22 Rock Crusher 4-speed manual, known for its exceptional strength and precise shifting. The clutch was a heavy-duty 11-inch unit with special friction material to handle the engine's massive torque output. The rear axle was a 12-bolt unit with 4.1 to 1 gears and positraction limited slip differential. The axle shafts were heat-treated and shot peen for additional strength. The drive shaft was a heavy-duty unit with larger U-joints to handle the increased torque. Inside, the SS 454 offered a unique blend of sportiness and comfort. The dual-plane instrument panel kept vital information in clear view with a 150-mile-per-hour speedometer and 6,000 RPM tachometer front and center. The gauge package included engine temperature, oil pressure, and alternator gauges. The high-back bucket seats provided excellent support during hard acceleration and cornering. They were upholstered in a special vinyl material designed to be both durable and comfortable. The optional center console housed a Hurst shifter that became an extension of the driver's wheel. The exterior design spoke volumes without saying a word. The twin black stripes, functional hood pins, and SS badging weren't just for show. They were promises of performance that the car delivered on every time. The hood featured functional cowl induction that opened under heavy throttle, providing additional cold air to the engine. The Chevelle SS 454 LS6 marked the end of an era. Within years, emissions regulations and the fuel crisis would bring the muscle car era to a close. Modern cars may be faster, but they'll never capture the raw character of the LS6. Production numbers were low. Only 4,475 LS6 Chevelle were built. Of these, fewer than 20% were convertibles, making them among the most sought-after muscle cars ever produced. Today, these cars command prices exceeding $250,000 at auction, with rare, well-documented examples selling for significantly more. The value isn't just in the rarity, it's in what the car represents, the absolute peak of American muscle car performance. In many ways, the LS6 Chevelle was the last of its kind. No other manufacturer would ever again build a car with this combination of raw power and mechanical simplicity. Time has been kind to the LS6's reputation. While other muscle cars of the era have faded into obscurity, the Chevelle SS remains the benchmark against which all others are measured. Its influence can be seen in modern performance cars, though they approach performance from a very different technological direction. The story of the 1970 Chevelle SS 454 LS6 isn't just about horsepower figures or quarter-mile times. It's about a moment in automotive history when engineering excellence met raw ambition. And while that era may be gone, the legacy of the baddest muscle car America ever made lives on in every rumble of its massive V8.